All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining today. Thanks for bearing with us while we had some technical difficulties. Excited to kick this conversation off. I'm probably going to be the least exciting person that's y'all going to hear from today. We have two amazing partners. We have PointGuard AI as well as Obsidian Security that are going to be talking to you all about that new frontier of generative AI security. Gen AI, a little thing that we've talked about pretty much ad nauseum at this conference here, and the importance of securing that within the Databricks platform. However, before I pass it off to partners, I'm going to speed through some of the platform security aspects of Databricks, making sure that we're locking the front door when we're doing our development work and pushing forward those models to power the next generation of applications. So we have a use case survey for that has feedback for direct impact. Do we have this at a later slide, Taylor, to pull back up? All right. So let's go ahead and go into it. So this first part of the segment, we'll be talking about the steps to secure a Databricks deployment. I'll talk about an announcement that we're going to have with another open source tool to even out our three-legged tool of security called our security enforcement tool. Then I'll pass it off over to PointGuard AI, followed soon after by Obsidian Security. All right, so let's get started. So you may have seen this at past conferences, is we have brought forward this idea of a three-legged stool of security, where we walk through, you define your security best practices, you deploy securely, and then you monitor your configurations. Especially for Databricks admins and platform users, it's incredibly important that each of these steps is followed, so we have an even stool as we go and do very crucial development work, such as posting dashboards, making AI agents, etc. So who here has heard of any of these, of the three-legged stool? Okay, we got a couple. Great, so we're going to walk through all of them very quickly. So first and foremost, one of our oldest resources that we have is our security best practices. These are available in all three clouds on AWS, Azure, and GCP. Frankly, all of these assets are. Now, it's important as you're doing the security of your instances, you understand the best practices, as well as understand how to threat model on Databricks. I see it very often where sometimes when security teams first get started with Databricks, they don't know how to secure it. Because we operate as both a PaaS and a SaaS, these documents will tell you the exact types of threat modeling you should do to protect, to detect, and to respond to those threats to the Databricks instance. Now moving on, another question we got a lot from our customers is like, this is great. All these best practices are awesome. But how do I deploy securely? How do I do this simply? What we released 2 years ago was our security reference architecture Terraform templates. These are extremely opinionated Terraform templates meant to deploy for the most secure organizations on Azure, on GCP, and on AWS. For example, on AWS, we have no public internet access whatsoever from neither the classic compute plane nor the serverless compute plane. We implement CMK. We have isolation across Unity Catalog. So these are not meant for the average use case, but really the security-forward customer that are doing the development work that's important on PII data, on PCI data, etc. This is your starting point. And finally, one of our most important controls that we have on this three-legged stool is our security analysis tool. Our security analysis tool is one of our open source dashboards that's available that will base a dashboard on the controls set in place by our Data and AI Security Framework and tell you where you can improve your workspace's security posture and be available to you. So these three items have made up a three-legged stool. But what's better than a three-legged stool? A four-legged stool, which if it adds back, it's pretty much a chair now. Because our customers were asking, how do I enforce security best practices on the platform? You had how we deploy from day one. We had how do you monitor, which was just pretty much a get. But we have security teams that aren't familiar with Databricks, and they want to go in and just click a couple buttons and get things going. So that's why I'm excited for today to announce our open source tool, the security enforcement tool that will be coming soon. I want to make this very clear that this is not part of our product. This is an open source tool that's going to be available on GitHub for you to customize, you to change, and provide you that foundation to use. Now, what's all in the security enforcement tool? So there's a couple areas. Number one, and most important, This is tightly coupled with our security analysis tool that is tightly coupled with our Data AI Security Framework. All of these controls are based on best practices, industry best practices, that we believe any data and AI platform should follow. So you're not going to see new checks. Everything should look very familiar. The best compatibility we're going to have with the security enforcement tool is with non-automated environments. A lot of people, when they first get started with Databricks, their first workspace, it grows and it grows and it grows. And then they think, oh, I should use Terraform. I should use an infrastructure as code tool. But that doesn't exclude that initial workspace from the conversation. It's still just as important that we go in and implement best practices. So that is what is going to be purpose-built for. And then, like I mentioned, this is not going to be part of the product, so that means it's going to be entirely open for you to customize and join, etc., built fully on Databricks apps. Now, what does it look like? So we have a screenshot of our implementation here, where what you'll see is in a remediation tab, you're going to find common security findings from the security analysis tool, pulled directly from the catalog that you had when you implemented that security analysis tool. For example, we have implementing object storage for data sources and downloading results, etc. And the findings are matching exactly that. So what you'll be able to do for APIs and for controls that have an API you can remediate, you can click the button and get that remediation. Before you do, we'll warn you saying, hey, this is what the changes are going to implement. Because as we all know, being in the security world, security controls come with some lack of functionality. So in this case, for downloading results, especially in production workspaces, you don't want users going in, ripping results, and downloading to the local machine. You'll click remediate. It will remove that, hit the API, and you'll see the remediation come up with the remediation timeline. So that's all I had for you all today. Again, a really primer into platform security before kicking off to our two amazing partners to really drive with the demos of their product. But just to recap, we have our define, which is our security best practices, our deploy, which is our security reference architecture Terraform templates, our monitor, our security analysis tool, and soon our enforce with our security enforcement tool. So with that, I'll kick it up and hand it off to PointGuard AI to go through their content.
Thank you, Jerry. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's Mali Gorantla. I'm a co-founder and chief product officer at PointGuard AI. We have heard the three-legged story from Databricks, and we also looked at security analysis tool, and of course the Databricks AI Security Framework. Now let's see how PointGuard embraces those SAT, security analysis tools, Databricks AI Security Framework, and makes it easier for our customers. By the way, just a quick show of hands, how many of you from security teams or leading security teams? Good, good, great, okay. Have you logged into Databricks at any point? Any of the security teams? Okay, good, okay, good. So before we get into what we offer, let's look at some of the challenges that our customers are facing. Number one thing, we know that AI is disrupting. There is an explosive growth of AI apps, but what does it mean for security? This obviously is causing larger attack surface through the agents, attack surface through the endpoints that are exposed, right? But this is also making it easier for attackers. We talked about script kiddies. Now it's literally kids who know how to type prompts, right? And there is a widespread use of open source LLMs. We know that. If you go to Hugging Face, there are 1.8 million models on Hugging Face. And thousands of those models have been found to have malware. That's the research out there. And how is industry reacting to it? Industry has done pretty well, I would say, starting with non-profit organizations like OWASP and MITRE. And of course, Databricks is leading with Databricks AI Security Framework on creating that reference framework on how to secure those Databricks workspaces. What do we offer? So we offer a comprehensive platform. We have solutions for customers that are building AI using Databricks. And we have 3 different modules within that build AI phase. So we help with discovering the resources on Databricks platform, and we also help our customers to harden the resources that the customers are setting up to make those AI projects live, right? And then we also have red teaming of the LLM models. We know that there are a lot of models with a lot of weaknesses in terms of leaking training data, weaknesses against jailbreaking and prompt injections. So you can use the red teaming solution to essentially test the models before they go to production. And we also have solutions for customers that are running AI. Right? You could run AI anywhere, right? So, and this is where you have these models and apps that have gone live. Customers are actively interacting with those models through the endpoints. And if you were worried about leaking sensitive data, this is where we can actively intercept those prompts and responses. And we have our own DLP engine that looks for those sensitive attributes. Could be PCI data, HIPAA data, or any other regulatory data. And we also look for these novel attacks that we have seen, including prompt injections and jailbreaking. Right? And all of this, every single finding that the platform identifies, whether it's in terms of security posture management, or the findings coming from the red teaming, or the findings coming from the runtime when the apps are live, everything gets mapped to the security frameworks, including Databricks AI Security Framework, NIST AI RMF, ISO 40001, so on and so forth. Let's see a quick demo of the platform. So we have 3 different demo scenarios addressing both the build and the runtime security aspects. Demo 1 is about AI discovery and security posture management. This is where you are using Databricks to develop your AI applications. Discovery starts with discovering those AI resources and helping customers to map the resources to specific AI use cases, right? And sorry. Oh, what happened? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. And then hardening, like I said, helps securing the Databricks workspaces. I mean, you may have hundreds of Databricks workspaces, so you have one single platform to secure all those workspaces. And the challenges that we address, we help our customers with, are addressing those resource sprawl across the clouds. You may have Databricks in Azure, Databricks in AWS, but we have a solution that provides security posture, that unified view from a single screen. And you can discover all those models or risky models or any sensitive data sets, and then any orphan resources for which you may not know why they even exist in those platforms or in those workspaces. A quick demo of the discovery and posture management. What you're looking at is top AI risk from a LLM model standpoint of view, where you can see that what is the license under which certain models are distributed. You can see models and data sets in red. Green means we know the purpose of those models and data sets. Red means we just don't know who's using them. So they could be orphaned, or they're simply being experimented with without the purview of the central AI governance team, right? And we allow customers to essentially map those orphan resources to the AI application. And this can be automated by integrating with your ML flow or any MLOps pipelines that you may have. And you can see that this is essentially the resource inventory. What you're looking at is the list of models, but we also support full and all the resource types in Databricks. So it could be catalog, it could be clusters, endpoint, or any job that you may have set up as part of your MLOps or LLMOps pipeline. And scrolling down further, you see the different resource types here. So like I said, workspaces, this is essentially, like I said, your AI bomb. So you can see the filters at the top, filter by the business unit, filter by the application, and use this as an inventory or AI bill of materials for any of your AI initiatives. So this is the security posture dashboard, where you can see the mapping of the findings to the specific frameworks. You see DASF, HIPAA, and ISO 40001. But we also have support for NIST RMF. You can see the mapping to OWASP top 10, findings coming from all the 3 different modules that we have, right? And this is the control compliance space where you can see different controls from different regulations or frameworks that you want to be compliant with, mapped to different checks. You can also remediate those checks through what we call autofix, very similar to what JD talked about, security enforcement tool. You can do all of that from just with a couple of clicks, fixing all the security posture issues across multiple Databricks workspaces right from the platform itself. Right. So yeah, back to this dashboard. I think that completes the demo for discovery and security posture management. Let me quickly summarize or recap the outcomes. So using our discovery and posture management, you can have the inventory of all the AI assets in one single place across multiple Databricks workspaces and across multiple clouds as well. And of course, you get the compliance mapping with relevant regulations. Second demo is automated AI red teaming. This is where we help our customers to assess the weaknesses of the models that they're using before the models are pushed to production, of course. Again, this complements the discovery. So discovery identifies what models exist in the AI environment, and then red teaming comes into picture and further analyzes the risk of those models. A quick demo of the AI red teaming. What you're looking at is the dashboard of the AI red teaming solution. From this dashboard, you can see how many assessments you have done, what sort of findings that we have identified, and the trend over a period of time, including what is the attack success rate or the simulated attack success rate. You can look at the trends, whether are you doing well, are you regressing, and again, success trends over attack success trends over a period of time, weekly, monthly, or a custom period. You can see the attack breakdown. At the bottom, you also see the critical findings that we identify, not only from a security point of view, but also from a behavioral point of view, including is there any bias introduced by the model? Is there any harmful content that the model is reporting? And you can filter all of that by business units, by application, by data classification as well. So you can prioritize the remediation. And a quick view on how the assessment history is shown. So you can go back in history and see all the data that is used for essentially the trending. And this is it's pretty simple. We have add virtual probe sets made available as part of the platform. And if you have any custom probe sets that you want to import, you can do that using the import functionality for that specific use case for which you have deployed that model. So that completes the red teaming demo. Let me quickly go to the demo scenario 3. Before that, the outcomes of AI red teaming. So you get the risk rating of the LLM models, again, before the models are pushed to production. And you can automate the testing and integrate that into your existing, again, MLOps and LLMOps pipeline. And we support custom adversarial probe sets for any custom testing that you may have to do. Demo 3 is AI detection and response. This is when you have gone live, you have deployed the model, and that endpoint is made available to your consumers directly or being called by another application. So the challenges that this solution addresses are exposure of sensitive data via AI assistants or chatbots, and of course any risk of model exploits, prompt injection, jailbreaking, or any bias that the models may introduce during runtime. So we broadly categorize this solution into 2 different areas. One is detection and response, addressing prompt injection and jailbreaking. Of course, we have anomaly detection as well, where we can not only enforce these capabilities in line, but we also do offline analysis, and by doing the deeper inspection of those prompts and responses. So if you have the prompt and response history in a storage like S3 bucket or DynamoDB, or so we can point to that and run that anomaly detection as well. And of course, data protection, where we have inbuilt DLP engine, and this is something that you can enforce inline and block that sensitive data leak right there. A quick demo. This is the dashboard for our runtime product, where you can see the graph showing how many violations that we have detected. And a quick demo, we try to simulate how runtime defense works by hosting a model on Databricks. A simple prompt, there's no policy violation here. You get the response back from the model straight away. But now, if an attacker is trying to be mischievous, it could be an insider, we block that content. This is a potential prompt injection attack, right? And this message can be replaced by a custom message. You could display, instead of content blocked by PointGuard AI, could be we blocked it because this violates this particular policy of the company, right? And same thing for DLP. So again, we block, in this case, credit card number. And this can be masked as well. So you've seen enforcement on the prompt side. Now let's look at enforcement on the response side. So you've seen somebody trying to harvest emails by trying to get email formats from big companies. The model responded with the email formats, but we masked it. So we not only have blocking capabilities, but we also have masking and redacting capabilities. Okay, and everything that is blocked is shown in the runtime dashboard as well as the runtime alerts with the timestamp. This is something that you can push to your existing SIEM, or of course, all the alerts are here itself in the dashboard, where you can see what is the prompt that or the response that the model actually has given, and how we have modified it, whether we blocked it or masked it or redacted it. Okay. So that completes our runtime defense demo. So what is the outcome? So the outcome, what our customers get using this solution, guardrails against sensitive data leak, and of course the novel AI threats. And we have offline deep analysis for anomaly detection, in addition to the inline enforcement capabilities, and get comprehensive logging for audit and compliance. Right? And every finding, everything that we report, it gets mapped to the frameworks, including Databricks AI Security Framework. Quick next steps. We have this complementary AI discovery and posture management offer for our Databricks customers, so which really does the discovery and evaluation of the overall security posture of your Databricks workspaces. And you can detect exploitable misconfigurations. You can map the identified misconfigurations to frameworks like DASF, NIST AI, RMF, OWASP, Top 10, and so on and so forth. And it covers all the AI resources in the Databricks workspace, and could be running on Azure Databricks or AWS workspace, AWS Databricks, doesn't really matter. And what we have also seen from our customer base is that Databricks customers also use some pieces of Azure AI or some pieces of AWS ecosystem. We also have support for that as well. So if you have any questions or to take advantage of this complimentary offer, you can reach out to me or Armin, who's standing up there. He heads our alliances. Thank you all. So next up, Obsidian.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Let's give it up for our partners, Databricks PointGuard AI. It's phenomenal. Thank you. So really appreciate your time, spending a little bit of time here exploring our capabilities, this better together story that we have with Databricks, and how we can come together as a community to make sure that we're staying on top of the risks and threats, right? We're all here because we believe in the promise of AI. We believe in the promise of the technologies that we're building on top of the Databricks platform by, with, and through these capabilities. But we also know that these capabilities are not free of challenges, risks, and threats. So really coming together and bringing the ecosystem of our platform providers, of those practitioners, of those operators, and of our partner ecosystem in this sort of community to make each other better and stronger, that is an awesome, awesome thing. So today what we're going to be talking about is Obsidian and Databricks and how we can help you drive secure and AI innovation with these capabilities. My name is Alfredo Hickman. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at Obsidian. I've been practicing security for a little over 20 years. I started in the United States Marine Corps, where I was mostly focused on counterterrorism and counterinsurgency. Got exposed to cybersecurity through some of our joint capabilities with our partner organizations, and decided that that was a really cool next step to go focus in. And I've been very fortunate that ever since I've had opportunities to build global managed cybersecurity businesses, do national cybersecurity policy at Washington, D.C., and most recently for the last 7 years, really helped to pioneer and innovate the SaaS security space. So what we're going to talk about is basically the state of the security landscape, the risk landscape in the context of SaaS. By show of hands, how many of our organizations here are using SaaS applications? Pretty much everybody, right? We're all using the M365s, the Oktas, the Salesforce, the Workdays of the world, and any other number of hundreds of line of business applications out there, right? How many of us think that we have a good handle in terms of our inventories, the risks and the threats in these organizations? Not many of us, right? So real quick, the state of where we are right now is what we are seeing is at a result of this distributed, implementation model of SaaS applications, the fact that these applications oftentimes live outside of the purviews of our central IT and security organizations, and because we have an integrated mesh of identities and connections with and amongst the SaaS applications, we're seeing about 85% of the breaches in these SaaS apps being a result of compromised identities, human and non-human identities. We're seeing about 300% increase in SaaS application breaches year over year, and we're seeing conditions that are very reminiscent of what we were seeing in the endpoint space in the 2010s, where we had adversaries that were from initial compromise to break out of their environments, conducting lateral movement in your environments measured in minutes, with dwell times where they were embedded in our organizations lasting months and months and months. We got a handle on that together as a community with the innovation of next-gen endpoint security. What we've seen now is that we've pushed the adversary by result of the maturity of that ecosystem and the data and business critical workflows abstracting up the application stack to SaaS, now targeting those environments that are less governed, less controlled, less secure, and much more easily exploitable in many instances. So what we're seeing in SaaS is now adversaries again breaking out of these environments, breaching an identity, compromising those resources in minutes, and then dwelling in your environment on average 240 days. It's like it's 2010 all over again. So as we see here, the rise in publicly disclosed breaches attributed to SaaS compromises, in 2021, we only had 3 publicly disclosed breaches as a result of SaaS. Flash forward to 2024 and 2025, now we're at 55 plus and growing. These are publicly disclosed breaches, many of which in very mature, highly governed organizations that yet are still falling victim to these sorts of risks due to the complexity and the evolving threat landscape targeting these resources. Obsidian is very fortunate that we're perched in a position to be able to directly observe and engage in hundreds of incident response engagements annually, where we're able to directly observe, help our customers detect, prevent, and respond to these sorts of attacks. So why is this? Why are we in this situation? We've covered a little bit about this. We've talked about the evolution of the consumption of technology resources, moving from in-cloud infrastructure and platforms, organizations adopting and rapidly implementing more and more SaaS. As a result, we see this interconnected mesh of applications that are designed to integrate with and amongst each other. We see wide-ranging access ranging from employees to contractors to service providers and so forth. We've seen that central IT cannot administer all of these applications themselves. They're being procured, implemented, and operated oftentimes at the business unit level by those line of business administrators that are subject matter experts in their particular applications. So many of these challenges to secure, many of the same things that we derive value from are the same kind of attributes that are leading to these sorts of risks and threats. And on top of that, where we as consumers of these applications, and especially when we are the implementers and administrators, are just looking to get to functionality so that we can reap the benefit of these applications, adversaries aren't thinking like that. They're thinking in terms of gaps in people, process, and technology that they can exploit to realize harm to our organization, to find those weaknesses in our people, process, and technology to exploit our organizations. This is a very common model of known knowns and known unknowns. We know what we know, right? And the things that we don't know we don't know, we can go and figure out, but it's those unknown unknowns that get you killed, right? So in SaaS, we live in a world of unknown unknowns. And those gaps in deployments, those gaps in inventory, those gaps in capability and controls are what get us popped in these organizations. So what does this kill chain actually look like in SaaS? As I mentioned, 85% of these attacks are targeting identities. 95% of these attacks are starting with a takeover, a compromise of that attack, whether it be through social engineering, whether it be through attacker in the middle, whether it be through malicious proxies that are compromising these credentials. We're seeing 95% of these starting with an account takeover. 84% of this is bypassing our traditional two-factor, multi-factor authentication implementations. Most of us here know that not all MFA is created equal, right? Now with developments in FIDO, WebAuthn, and other phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication standards, we're getting in a better place, but many organizations still out there are still using vulnerable MFA implementations such as SIM, SMS-based authentication that is subject to hijacking and impersonation. They're using methods that are susceptible to push fatigue compromises of MFA implementations, like we saw in some of the recent breaches where they're just banging away at Duo implementations until someone, somewhere, finally just clicks on it. Like, let the pain be done, right? Like, just click on it and let's move, right? So what we're seeing is now those adversaries targeting those identities, going after the Oktas, going after the Duos, going after these weak configurations sometimes in these environments, compromising those credentials, and very rapidly, and we have the data I wish that I could show you these videos of this. We have the data to show where they'll compromise an identity, immediately open up that Okta app panel, click on every single federated app, and just see what they have access to, right? Moving laterally in the context of your SaaS install base. We see them going to collaboration spaces to go and harvest reconnaissance information from your Notion, from your Confluence, from your Google Docs, from your Microsoft SharePoint sites to collect a bunch of juicy intellectual property, proprietary information, architecture diagrams, software standards, so forth and so on, to help facilitate their movement through your environment, the compromise of your organizations. We see them going for those data repositories like the Dropboxes, going for source code repos like GitHub and GitLab. We see them then harvesting credentials that get them access into your cloud service provider so that they can pivot into your infrastructure, into your AWS, your Azure, and your GCP environments. And then always resulting in some sort of realization of that hazard, which is the impact. 51% of these attacks resulting in ransomware, 49% of these attacks resulting in some sort of financial fraud, and a significant subset of these attacks resulting in loss of customer trust and impact to business critical workflows and such. Here in San Francisco, the FBI field office here, the special agent in charge of the FBI field office here, was saying that over the course of the last 2 years, they have seen the largest pool now of corporate espionage occurring outside of the Washington, D.C., Maryland corridor happening right here in San Francisco. Rippling, right? Rippling right now is involved in a case where one of their competitors is being accused of conducting corporate espionage. Rippling is just the one company that has been very confident in putting this information out there. According to your local FBI field office here, San Francisco has the highest rate of those occurrences in the United States outside of Washington, D.C. That is an interesting fact there. Now, with the proliferation of Gen AI, with AI-enabled capabilities and features springing up everywhere, we have further complexity added to the equation. Many of these AI services are being fielded as SaaS applications or through SaaS applications. Many of these features are being implemented in applications that are already sanctioned and implemented in your organization. Approved applications that are fielding these capabilities without any direct oversight or governance from your IT or governance teams because they just didn't even know that these things existed. Case in point, I opened up Adobe Acrobat Reader the other day to look at a PDF, and it prompted me, asking me if I wanted it to send my PDFs to OpenAI so that they could summarize all my stuff, right? This is just one instance of the proliferation of these capabilities in our environments. This isn't just new technology coming in, this is existing technology fielding these capabilities, and rightly so in many instances, right? This is not necessarily a bad thing. These are opportunities for us to be able to hopefully put in the guardrails for our organizations so that we can leverage these capabilities responsibly and safely, right? At the end of the day, you know, a lot of security leaders tend to look at risk strictly through a negative lens. One of the things that I've been advocating for in the CISO community is adding opportunity risk to our risk registers so that we can see areas in our organizations where we can enable our companies to adopt these technologies responsibly and reap those rewards. This is a great purview for security practitioners where we might centrally secure and govern, but have to work by, with, and through organizations throughout the environment to really effectively scale and support, right? Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So existing security controls and capabilities. Why the need for purpose-built capabilities to secure your SaaS environments? What we have seen is first and foremost, starting at a conceptual level. Most of us here operating in cloud are familiar with the concept of the shared security responsibility model. The CSP is responsible for this subset of responsibilities. We as the consumer, the customer, are responsible for the other subset of capabilities. We have a handful of major hyperscaler CSPs as opposed to SaaS where you have thousands and thousands of different providers with no shared security responsibility and no commonality in data format schemas and such, including native security capabilities. Some applications may have some may have none. None of them have great capabilities, and none of them integrate across all of your major SaaS applications. So what we've seen is folks try to adapt and innovate with existing capabilities like IDPs, like CASBs, like SIEM, that introduce various levels of capabilities either at the perimeter edge for access brokerage, which is great for north-south connectivity, but loses all purview when you get into east-west within the applications, or even SIEM, right, to try to build your own capability for security, visibility, detection, and response. I tried this prior to Obsidian. I led security product engineering at Rackspace. Managed services, we tried to do this there. Papa Rackspace provided the infrastructure. We just had to pay for the Splunk license. My bill came out to $10 million that year. It was non-viable. That was just for the collection of the data. That wasn't even for creating any of the detections, models, analytics, and dashboards, right? It was not economically viable. Endpoint protections. Endpoint protections are fantastic. We should all have them, right? They have zero purview in the context of SaaS. You can't install an endpoint agent on Salesforce or put a Palo Alto next-gen firewall in front of your Workday implementation, right? So you need that purpose-built technology in order to field those capabilities to secure SaaS, right? So the Databricks Obsidian Better Together story. Obsidian is a built-on Databricks partner. We were born on Databricks in AWS. Databricks is the foundation of our data platform. At Obsidian, what we discovered was that there was significant value in taking advantage of the capabilities of the Databricks platform, not only to build awesome, cloud native capabilities like ours, but to actually enable our joint customers to be able to deploy and develop on top of those platforms in a more secure and secure manner. So with the introduction of Databricks' Unity Catalog, everybody here familiar with the Unity Catalog? Fantastic. So with the introduction of the Databricks Unity Catalog, combined with the Obsidian Knowledge Graph and the capability that we have to secure SaaS, we're able to integrate into Databricks deployments. We're able to surface the configuration and hardening, the best practices and standards that we covered before, to be able to surface areas of opportunities to harden your Databricks environment, to be able to map the configurations across your related standards, including the implementation of your own custom standards for your bespoke requirements, the ability to take advantage of the security analysis tool to be able to harden those environments, and to, at the end of the day, enable you to build and deploy on Databricks with even more confidence. Some of these capabilities that we talked about here are getting a little bit more into the weeds around compliance and posture hardening, the things that we talked about: identity management, workspace setting, the coverage of the SAT, compliance mapping to either industry standards or bespoke requirements, integration risk. This is one of the huge capabilities of the Obsidian product. These applications have robust ecosystems of third-party, fourth-party integrations. Obsidian enables you to be able to get a security and governance lasso around them, bring them into your environment. And then where we play super strong in the context of threat mitigation, identifying and removing those inactive privilege accounts, understanding the anomalous, potentially malicious insider and external threats, and then identifying compromised accounts by profiling a user's behavior so that you can understand and our models can learn based on your unique activity and ecosystem. So some takeaways. At the end of the day, agnostic of any platform, technology, or provider, there's things that we can do today to drive improvements in our organizations. So what I would encourage you is a few things. Look at your existing processes, your existing security controls, and think about how you can evolve these to bring in your SaaS resources into the fold of these programs. One of the things that has been a big learning point for me, especially coming from a SecOps, a heavy security operations background, is that governance becomes shift left in the context of SaaS. If you would have asked me that 10 years ago, I would have laughed. But at the end of the day, one of the common things, the common denominator in the consumption of these resources is, even if our employees are purchasing these applications with their own personal credit cards, they're using their corporate emails to register for these accounts, at the end of the day, somebody's paying for it. Somebody wants to be expensed for that. Finance is a fantastic hook. Procurement and finance are a fantastic hook to insert your third-party risk management controls, where it can trigger as a gating function to come into the security and governance purview to be able to inventory, audit, figure out the appropriate security controls and settings, and then be able to get a handle of that risk. Red team. Red teaming becomes extremely important. Not enough to just do a pen test of your environment, to go and assess the security state statically of an organization, but really taking an adversarial approach to your organization, even if it means hiring professionals. At Obsidian, we do red team engagements quarterly where the entire company is in scope for these kind of engagements. Even in a company of our size, we're still discovering new things. Those unknown unknowns, red teamers that are not biased, that have not been working in your organization for years, that are not anchored, to the status quo of your reality, have a really fantastic way of bringing a fresh pair of eyes to discovering those things that you weren't even aware existed in your environment. Another thing that you can do to help scale and to help triage and prioritize your resources is the classification of the SaaS apps map to the criticality of the data that they contain, the business criticality of the workflows that they enable, and then the regulatory or value at risk implications of the services that they provide to your organization. Because we all know not even the most sophisticated, most well-resourced organizations can be everywhere at all times. We have to be able to contextualize and be able to effectively prioritize where we allocate our time and our resources to secure these apps. They're not all created equal. Technologies like Obsidian can help you do that. deploy purpose-built technology that is designed to secure these sorts of resources. Obsidian is a SaaS application that secures SaaS application. It deploys very rapidly in a matter of hours, sometimes days. But very, very rapidly, you can start reaping the benefits of the Obsidian technology in your environments. Use the right tool for the right job. We have a demo going on the expo floor. You can come by and take a look at Obsidian. We're in the security enclave there. We have members of the team here that are happy to help you set up with a demo, a proof of value. And then I'm here as well if you have any questions for me about the security, how we think about this, how to implement it, any questions that you may have, I'm here as well. So really appreciate your time, really appreciate your partnership. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, JD, Molly, Alfredo. We won't have time for Q&A, but you could feel free to ask questions of our speakers afterward. Thanks, everyone.